Breaking news, major updates. You need to know. We've got some hot news today that you won't want to miss. I'll fill you in on all the latest behind-the-scenes action. If you want to stay up to date with all the breaking news about our team, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe right now. Today, we've got some big news involving two of our star players, Drake London and Robinson. You definitely want to hear the full story. Both players are facing hefty fines after the Falcons' tough overtime loss to the Panthers. According to NFL Network, Drake London was fined $1,255 for taunting after his touchdown catch just before halftime. Meanwhile, Robinson got hit with a much bigger fine of $2,511 for unnecessary roughness in the fourth quarter. Together, that's over $30,000 in fines. This isn't the first time London has made headlines for a fine. Remember back in Week 2, when he caught that game-winning touchdown against the Eagles on Monday Night Football? His celebration, which mimicked a gunshot, cost him a $14,069 fine. London later spoke out about it, saying, "There's a lot going on in the world with gun violence, and I don't think I should have done that. I'm not happy about it, and you won't see that from me again." Robinson, too, has found himself in the spotlight for controversial moments this season. The Falcons were also hit with some big fines. The team received a $75,000 penalty, and coach Arthur Smith was fined $25,000 for not reporting Robinson's illness before the Week 7 game against the Buccaneers. Despite these fines, both London and Robinson delivered some incredible performances late in the season. London had an outstanding game, catching 10 passes for 187 yards and scoring 2 touchdowns. Robinson wasn't far behind, rushing for 170 yards and adding 2 touchdowns on 28 carries. These two players gave it their all, but unfortunately, the Falcons lost 44-38 to Carolina. That loss also sealed our fate. With the Buccaneers defeating the Saints, they clinched the NFC South, ending our playoff hopes for the season. But don't worry. There's still plenty of reason to be excited for next year. London and Robinson have shown they're among the best at their positions, and with a few key changes this offseason, the Falcons could be back in playoff contention. Speaking of next season, what do you think, Falcons fans? Will we finally end our 7-year playoff drought in 2025? The division seems wide open with the Saints and Panthers still rebuilding, so it could come down to us and Tampa Bay once again. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Now let's dive into some important updates about the coaching staff after a tough 2024 season. The Falcons didn't waste any time making bold moves after a tough 8-9 finish. According to NFL insider Ian Rappaport, Atlanta has officially parted ways with defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake and defensive line coach Jay Rodgers. Lake was brought in last offseason along with head coach Raheem Morris, but the results just weren't there. Let's be honest. The defense under Lake took a big step backward. Remember that promising 2023 season when the Falcons' defense ranked 18th in scoring and 11th in yards allowed? Well, all that progress was undone this past season. The Falcons' defense dropped to 23rd in scoring, giving up 24.9 points per game, and allowed a total of 345.8 yards per game. Even worse, opposing quarterbacks completed an alarming 69.9% of their passes and threw 34 touchdowns, the second most in the league. That's not what you want when you're aiming for a playoff push. Now, you might be wondering why the change happened now. Well, Atlanta was the preseason favorite to win the NFC South, but instead, we watched our playoff drought stretch to 7 painful years. The defense just couldn't hold up, especially against the pass. And the struggles didn't end there. The Falcons were only middle of the pack against the run, ranking 18th by allowing 4.5 yards per carry. Plus, when it came to applying pressure, as for the pass rush, Atlanta's efforts were nearly invisible last season, finishing with just 31 sacks, the second fewest in the league, and a pressure rate of only 20%, which ranked 25th. So, what's next for the Falcons? The next defensive coordinator will have a huge task ahead. The secondary needs a serious upgrade, and the pass rush has to get better if Atlanta wants to compete with the league's top teams. But there is a silver lining, Falcons fans. Safety Jesse Bates has been a standout player since joining in 2023. In just 2 seasons, Bates has totaled 234 tackles, 10 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, and even 2 defensive touchdowns. He's been a playmaker, and that's exactly the kind of building block the next coordinator can work with. Let's not forget how much this team has invested in offensive talent in recent drafts. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Robinson, and now Michael Penix Jr. The talent is there. If the defense can become at least league average, this team could easily take control of the NFC South. And don't forget, the Falcons swept Tampa Bay in 2024, showing they're not far from dethroning the division champs. So, was firing Jimmy Lake the right move? Do you think the next defensive coordinator will turn things around? We need to talk about a bold trade proposal that could shake things up in Atlanta. According to Bleacher Report, one potential trade scenario has the Las Vegas Raiders offering the Falcons a 4th-round pick and cornerback Jack Jones in exchange for veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins. Let's break this down. If a team is willing to offer a mid-round draft pick and a potential starter in Jones, Falcons GM Terry Fontenot would have to jump at that opportunity, especially considering Cousins' contract situation and his inconsistent play late in the season. Moving on from Cousins could make a lot of sense. Of course, trading Cousins isn't an easy task. His hefty contract and age make him a tough sell for many teams. But there's one major factor working in Atlanta's favor: the lack of top-tier quarterback prospects in the upcoming NFL draft. Last year, we saw a stacked QB class with names like Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and our own Michael Penix Jr. But this year, only 2 quarterbacks are projected as potential first-round picks. That scarcity could push a team like the Raiders to take a shot at a veteran like Cousins if they can't secure a top rookie. So, why the Raiders? Las Vegas is one of the most intriguing teams for Cousins. They're in desperate need of a quarterback upgrade. But here's the thing. The Raiders are currently in a tough spot when it comes to landing a top quarterback prospect. Plus, they're not exactly a top destination for elite free agents. Trading for a proven veteran like Cousins could be their best shot at staying competitive. Sure, there's a slim chance they'd actually make the move, but it's far from impossible. Let's be real, Falcons fans. If the Raiders do take on Cousins, it would be a big win for Atlanta. Not only would it free up much-needed salary cap space, but getting a 4th-round pick and a promising cornerback like Jack Jones would be a solid return. Jones has shown flashes of being a playmaker, and the Falcons' secondary could definitely use more depth and competition heading into the 2025 season. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, why trade Cousins when we need that veteran presence? But let's not forget the Falcons have heavily invested in Michael Penix Jr. It's time to fully commit to the young quarterback and surround him with the talent he needs to succeed. Moving on from Cousins would signal that Atlanta is officially entering the Penix era, and honestly, it feels like the right move. It's also important to remember that trading Cousins would correct a mistake made by the front office. The initial signing may have seemed promising, but with Penix ready to take over and the team needing to balance the books, this trade could be just what the Falcons need to turn the page. So, what do you think, Falcons fans? Should Atlanta explore this trade with the Raiders and move on from Kirk Cousins? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more exclusive Falcons updates. Rise up! Go Falcons!